But either way, yeah, finished top 3.
Only plaque we want is in our freaking veins and in our teeth.
Yeah.
I want that plaque.
I'm looking for plaque in my teeth. But yeah, no, I guess we're
Sorry,
gonna
I'm
have
not
some
right.
Yeah.
Just
That was
some
it
sort
took
of-
me a second, but I got there finally.
Yeah. You know, that's the number 1 cause of heart attack is actually what cholesterol is. It
Heart
builds
plaque.
up in your veins and your arteries, and that's what causes a heart attack. It's not actually
Yeah.
anything
Is that-
else. So you could have high cholesterol, but
So is heart disease the same thing where you have exacerbated levels of plaque? Like,
yeah, I mean, you just get a clog, and that's what it is. And you could have high cholesterol and not have a clog, and you'd be
Right.
fine. But 60% of your first heart episode is your last, so you better make sure you don't got no plaque up in that heart.
yeah. My dad had 2 or 3 stints put in.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he watch his cholesterol now?
Well, he looks at it, but I don't think it's of concern to him. Yeah, he's still. So my dad is like me. He's like a serial snacker, and he's an engineer. So he sits at a desk, and now he's 73 years old. So he's literally looking at AutoCAD drawing just like this.
Let's fire this thing up and let's keep this conversation rolling. So,
Yeah.
want to thank everybody for being here today. We have Stephanie Thompson joining us today, and happy to have you. Thanks for coming on with us
Yeah,
today.
Stephanie.
And as always, Todd Giuliano just
Yoo-yoo.
on the mic, ready to go. So we were just talking about a little bit of health and wellness, and we were talking about Todd's love for snacking. So what better way to break this off with, like, Todd, since you started it, what is your number 1 favorite snack?
So I'm a big candy guy, sour candy.
Sour
all
Patch
day.
Kids?
Sour Patch Kids all day. So like I'm a sweet candy guy, not a chocolate person because people always just assume I like chocolate because just like candy. But like no, definitely a sour candy guy.
Nice. How about you?
I have a hot take. I don't think I've heard anybody else say this, but chocolate covered gummy bears.
What?
Never heard of them,
So good. I just ordered a 3-pack on Amazon. Yeah.
and they come in 2 days.
Wait, is this one of those like TikTok like new candies that just
No,
come? Oh,
it's like old school. Like when
Chocolate
Sunray
covered
Cinema
gummy
was
bears.
still
It's kind of like a
open.
good mix.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
the best of both worlds. When Sunray Cinema was still open, that was the only place in town you could find them, and I would go just for the Muddy Bears. That's what they're called, the brand name.
wow.
The money bears.
Muddy Bears.
Buddy Bears.
Yeah.
Muddy bears. Okay.
Well, I've always thought the number 1 candy, in my opinion, of all time is the nerd rope. Kind of for that reason, you get the nerds and you got that little.
well, now they do the clusters too.
Oh, so good.
So,
but-
so you think that's your weak spot right there?
Actually, my weak spot. If you don't, many people don't know this, but I actually eat like 6 to 12 M&Ms every day. I have the big family pack in my refrigerator. Isn't that random? They're just the plain chocolate ones in the refrigerator. And it's like my sweet tooth. I just grab a little handful and that's my dessert. That's my sweet tooth for the
Yeah.
day.
That's nice. So that's
yeah.
kind of like how you're like a daily reward to yourself.
Yeah.
How about you? You do a daily reward, anything like that?
I want to circle back to that really quick. 6 to
Let's
12
unpack that.
M&Ms is so much self-control. That's crazy.
It used to be 3, and then I kind of got, I got a little out of hand. I swear, it used to be 3 to 4. And like Lindsay and Noah would be like, just eat more, eat less. Like, what are you doing? I was like, it just takes the edge off. I just like it.
Obviously, I know you now from since we first met each other 5 years ago as a pretty good self-control person. Have you always been that way?
Always been that way. Very disciplined in a lot of, almost all point of my life. And I think that is the key to a lot of people's, what
Yeah.
defines them as successful versus, getting off of this roller coaster and staying on it. I love consistency. I'm a, you always joke around with my son and the
Yeah.
creatures of habits that we are. So how about you? Would you say
You're consistent? Are you a creature of habit? Or are you kind
I
of
try to be. I have a routine that I do pretty much every day.
okay?
It adds a level of kind of like security. I know what my day is going to be like. It's a little bit more structured than because we're building our own schedules here.
Yeah.
Like we're our own boss, quote unquote.
yeah.
And so you have to have a level of structure, otherwise your day is going to be a mess.
Right.
And I think that's what causes everybody the most stress. And it is, not preparing yourself for what we know is coming of that day. We know that, especially in real estate, we're going to get thrown so many different curveballs, so many different phone calls. And if you're not planning out every other, instrument of that day, then one little thing can throw a wrench in it. Then it's just a spiral. Then you can't get out of it. Then you're in a bad mood. Then you're in like just a whole constant
Yeah, I
disarray.
think you brought up a good thing too, is recovering, right? Like something unexpected could happen. And if you don't have something to turn to kind of like get you back on track, it could make it seem like everything else is falling down if you start off with everything is falling down. Right. So, but have you always been like that, like in grade school, high school, et cetera, or this is new since being an agent here?
Yes and no. So I've always had a level of schedule in my day. Like through college, through like high school. Of course not in elementary school, but that's kind of when it started. Actually, my teacher made me block out my time for when I was going to do which subject of homework.
Okay. Time
know,
blocking.
So right.
Elementary school.
I know, it was like
Love
crazy. I sat back and thought about it the other day. I was like, that's insane.
Yeah.
But you know, during college, I had a little bit of a level of it. But starting here, I had no idea how to structure my day. I would try to block it off as best I could. And then we had that Tom Ferry training that kind of like changed the game for me. And
That's
I saw
awesome.
a lot of growth after that, like understanding like when is your business time, when is your growth time, when is your downtime. In her training, she's called it squirrel time. And I literally have that in my calendar.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that.
Squirrel
Squirrel time. I mean, because it's just, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you have to do this. It's so hard. And we are at the demand of the customer, but there is a way to build in everything, whether it's family time, whether it's me time, whether it's exercise, whether it's just blowing off some steam. If you put it in there and live by that, I think makes it a lot easier to just have fun and enjoy what we do. So let's back it up a little bit. I know we kind of got fired up with the snacks and all the sweet treats. So just a little bit of background. Where are you from? How did you get into real estate? Why did you get into real estate?
Yes. So great question. I'm actually a fourth generation Jacksonville native. So I'm from here.
Yeah.
You can't get me to leave. I've tried a couple of times, but I'm always coming back. It's my home and I love our community that we've built in Jacksonville. So I don't really see myself leaving anytime soon. Um, what got me into real estate is actually kind of a funny story. So I actually have my bachelor's in biology, and I was taking a gap year to study for the MCAT to go to medical school. Um, in that gap year, when I was working at the doctor's office, of course, this was around COVID time, I completely lost my love for healthcare, but I maintained the love for helping people. And at the same time, I started doing some part-time consulting for a commercial firm in Chicago. And that's kind of what kind of guided me towards real estate. I started watching YouTube videos, podcasts about real estate, how it helps and changes lives for not only the agents, but the people that they're helping. And that's kind of what guided me towards getting my license. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's pretty wild too, because we hear stories all the time about people who were forced into this, but so far of the people we've spoken to, everybody kind of goes into it, at least the successful people go into it because they actually care about helping someone.
Right.
And like the money, the success, it all follows, but their intention is strictly to help people,
Right.
which is bananas because most people are just like, oh, I get to work here. I get to do this. I get to do that sometimes, where you're like, you guys are going to be left so far behind. You literally need to care about the customer.
Right.
And it's all
Put it-
people, who
So
care about
how, like, on what level would you say does it scratch that itch for you of helping people? Like, is it fulfill it the bucket all the way full?
It
in real
does,
estate?
yeah. So in my time being here, I have a little passion projects for first-time home buyers, people who have a little bit lower of a budget, who think that home ownership is unachievable for them. You know, I think it's really important that their voices are heard and not just passed along. So the clients that I've worked with in the past that have been like those kind of not
Right.
quote unquote problem cases, but
Yeah.
some that
Tougher buyers.
tougher buyers that
Mhm.
a lot of agents wouldn't help out. You know, I still talk to them
Yeah.
like almost every week, every month. You know, I've been invited to dinners, like Thanksgivings, Christmases. So it becomes more than just a past client. They become like part of your community. You know, there's someone that you know, someone that you always know. And I just think that's really powerful that I've impacted somebody's life so much. They want to continue to know me.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it's really amazing.
I always
Yeah.
tell I was an early adopter in the online lead game, and I remember one of the leads that I got, and I ended up becoming really good friends with them and did some, and helped them invest. But the first property I met him at was on the corner of Old Moultrie and these apartments over there, and at the time, this place was listed at $37,000, and where most people would be like, oh my goodness, like I was like, you know what, seems to be an investment property, you never know what this is going to turn into. Sure enough, didn't buy that property. Ended up, I think we had over 12 transactions between him, his family, his dad. All of it just kind of spiraled, and we still talk to this day, and still, keep in communication. This was from 15 years ago, but just goes to show, like, you never know how you can impact somebody, how you can help people, what that one person could do for, future business and current business. So I love that fact of, just helping everybody. Don't, because we live in a day and age of luxury, and everything on TV is
Sure.
poised towards that. So I just love that. Just help people, and the rest will follow.
Well, and it's honestly, it's funny because, right, people do try to sandbox themselves. Oh, I'm a luxury agent, or I only do this, I only do that. Of course, that's great, right? You see it on
Yeah.
Netflix, right? That person is obviously helping people buy $40 million houses. But like somebody could be buying, a $37,000 property, and they're just like, they're interested maybe in 40 of them.
Yeah.
But they're like going to go see one of the units, right? And somebody's just like, I'm not touching that price point, and just like totally cut off most of the business. And you've created something to where you're like, the consumer shouldn't feel like I'm getting better service if I'm spending more. You're like, I should just be getting good service constantly.
Yeah.
And
I think when we all started, you guys used to, I don't know, probably thought I was a little crazy. I was like, no, the photos have to look just as good as on this
100%.
as they do on this. And I have always been such a, big ambassador of no matter what the home is, if we're going to put it in our marketing platform, it's got to have the best. It's got to be edited the best. It's a hard word to say.
edited the best.
Yeah. And not only that, from descriptions to how it's, because it's no matter what, it's that large. It's the largest asset to that person, and we should treat everybody and give them the best service. So I love that.
Yeah. Do you kind of take that under your wing? Like, you're like, I am like the sole product of how well my customers feel treated. Like, is that kind of like your goal?
I think so. I really love putting an emphasis on making someone feel special. Having that open and honest communication. I'm gonna share something that I do that I think I like. I don't think any of the other agents do. So I do a weekly video check-in. Just kind of guiding them through like what's been accomplished the past week and what we're going to be accomplishing this week. I feel like that opens up a conversation if they do have concerns, and kind of tailors their contract buying process a little bit more to them, and making them feel a little bit more special. And I feel like that really enhances the experience of the consumer.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
just to dive back just kind of peel back that layer for the agents listening out there. What do you think about, and how do you go about getting that content for that video? Or is it?
I literally just every Monday morning, I'll get my iPhone up. I have a little spreadsheet with all of the checklists that have been completed. I also use our app Open to Close, but I have a little pretty one that I do on the side too.
Nice.
And then I'll review what's been done and what needs to be done, especially by the client. And I'll just do a little FaceTime video like, hey, good morning, Tom, Jeff, whatever.
Sure.
Just a heads up, this is what was completed. I'm really excited, and we have a couple of milestones coming up this week that I just want you to be aware of.
For all of the agents out there, that is an amazing touch. I would definitely implement that.
Yeah.
To the DJ&Lindsey agents listening out, that training coming soon from Stephanie on internally making this a process Monday.
Right.
Monday,
well, so you're doing two things. Is you're actually, which people don't realize, is you're setting your customers up for expectations of what can come, like what they're being held accountable for. And at the same time, you're also outlining, if they do have a question or a concern, you're giving them a window to say, hey, I know I'm going to hear about a current update on Monday. I'll reach out to Stephanie maybe Tuesday or Monday, right? So if they're sweating it out on a Friday night or Saturday, hey, I know I'm going to hear from Stephanie on Monday. Maybe I'll just hang out until I hear from her. So that way you're kind of managing your own time by setting their expectations properly. It almost sounds a lot like what we teach constantly.
Yeah, I mean, it's well, guess what? I mean, the biggest complaint from a customer you're going to get of this person didn't do this for me typically is a lack of communication.
Sure.
And I always preach this to all of our agents and everybody out there. You can never over communicate with somebody that you're doing business with enough. Hey, and guess what? If you have a listing that's not moving or it's overpriced. I understand like that conversation might not be as great, but it's our, for them because they have an asset that they believe is worth X and might actually be worth Y. And that conversation, but for us it's our job to educate them, because if we don't educate them and we avoid that communication and just act like it's going to go away, then that disservice is going to somebody else is just going to step in and do that communicating for you. That listing is going to expire or withdraw, and now you've lost an opportunity. And looking back on everything that, through my years, if something did expire or withdraw, it was, probably I always took blame on it. It wasn't that the owner had an unrealistic price on that home. It was me that didn't explain it well enough to get them to understand the market good enough. So I always tried to take that on my shoulders, rather than, I know it's so easy to place the blame as, oh, they're not really motivated. Well, they took the time to meet with you, take your time and put their house up for sale. So
Right. How long have you been doing that?
I've done it, I think, for the past like 3 months.
Nice.
It's pretty new, but I've been getting a lot of positive feedback from it.
Awesome.
Yeah, even in my most recent review, they mentioned the videos actually. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that's literally the goal, right? Is for you to create such transparency that someone is like looking forward to hearing from you on that date that you are kind of like looking towards, hey, we're going to speak about it on this time. If you have concerns, whatever,
Right.
like I'm here all the time, but like we can talk about it then, right? Creating more freedom in your schedule, because as you just said, it's one domino falls, like it could seem like the world's burning down, but if you have your
100%.
structure, yeah.
So when did what was the date of your license? That you
I got licensed in 2022. I want to say June, but I didn't hang it up until I think October. I started at a different brokerage before I started
Okay.
here. I was there for 3 months.
Okay.
Yep, it was just me and the broker. It
There you
was
go.
us.
Okay.
That's it.
Was it, without saying names, was it small? Was it like a postage
It's just
stamp
them two,
brokerage? Or
right?
It
was
was just
the
us two. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
there's-
Yeah. I didn't know if you were alluding to the fact that like you would go to an office and it was only ever the two of you, but it was just a small
It was
unit.
just
anyway.
us.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at this year. I didn't wear this hat 23. I kind of got lucky today. I think closed this year to date, you have 23 closed.
I think so.
I'll
Yeah.
pull it up for you guys right now.
I just
Yeah,
pulled it
thank
up.
you.
I believe I was right. And I was like, I have the hat on it. This
Yeah.
is great. We're doing the podcast today. So also
26.
26
Oh,
closed
nice.
and pending or closed?
Closed and pending. Sorry.
Okay.
There we go.
23 closed, another
Okay.
3 pending. So she was actually at the Tom Ferry Summit with us last week, celebrating an award that she received from the Tom Ferry organization, 30 under
Rad.
30, which is amazing. Congratulations
Yeah.
out there.
Congrats.
Thank you.
And so you just getting licensed and hanging it and doing all of that, like that's got to be pretty awesome feeling, huh?
It
Great
is-
accomplishment?
It's a good start.
Right?
Yeah, it's a good start.
So what do you tell somebody out there that is sub 30, I want to be 30 under 30? I think that is a phenomenal first step to a goal. I think we all have micro goals, like whether it's, all right, I want to sell 10 houses, X houses, but I think that is a pretty cool achievement. What advice would you give somebody, again, started at another brokerage, came here, and then to where you are today? Like, what were some of your pitfalls and what advice would you give to an agent just in that
Start. Yeah.
situation?
I mean, self-talk, negative self-talk is always going to be something that you're dealing with. We're dealing with a lot of people that we talk to, not always positive. You just have to keep in mind that you don't know what circumstances they're going through. And you can be there for everybody. You might not sell them a house, but you can offer them an ear. And then the other point that I would tell a new agent is be persistent, be proactive, and then be prepared.
That's great.
Oh,
I always
yeah.
say that, and you hear me talk about this all the time in the morning meetings. I'm like, if you don't like talking to people, it's
Make
the
this a
worst
really hard
business in the
job.
world. Like, whether it's real estate or not, like you said, we don't know what people are going through. A lot of times we end up as a helping hand, and not just, moving is so emotional as it is. And so, I'm not saying we're therapists in a way, but we are not only advising them on their largest purchase, monetarily, but emotionally we have to be there for them and human beings. We go through ups, we go through downs. So I think, that's a great point you made there of just
Yeah, no doubt.
lending that ear is super helpful.
What's something that you kind of saw here that you were very early to adopt? Like that you were like immediately something you just like plug and play. Like you just immediately like you latched onto. Like you were talking about how you had the Tom Ferry training with Janet Miller, who showed you how to structure your schedule and immediately implemented it. Was something like when you started, what was something you just latched onto?
What didn't I? I mean, come on. I mean, coming from my previous place, like it is completely different. I honestly would not be here today without the company. I've learned everything. I try to be a sponge whenever a mentor or a leader talks. Like, even if it doesn't really apply, I still listen in and kind of try to overhear the conversations around me. Because sure, someone's going through one situation, but who knows, I might be facing the same one in the future. So it's really everything. But one of the main ones is prospecting. You have to block time in for prospecting. It's a non-negotiable in the industry.
And that's something that you had never, again, young career, but like that's something you just never heard of before you got here.
Never. I just thought people would click away. I post a couple of TikToks or Snapchat posts.
It's so
and then,
weird that it didn't work that way.
Right. Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that at all. It takes drive and it takes perseverance, but it's something that needs to be done. You're going to be reaching so many people that are literally raising their hand to be helped.
So a lot of the real estate landscape over the last few weeks has changed with the new, commission policies and NAR settlement. How have you navigated that, and how has that impacted you and your business so far?
Yeah, it hasn't necessarily changed the business for me personally. It's more so having an open and honest conversation with your client. Explaining to them and walking them through the steps, because as much as it's new for us, it's brand new for them. We've been trained on it. We've been prepared for it. A lot of these people don't know these changes have happened. And when it comes to commission, which is one of the big points of the lawsuit, is showing your worth, adding that value, being that professional service provider, which we are.
Yeah.
We provide a service. We do our job well. We provide insights that are invaluable to their home search. We're saving people thousands of dollars, and we're worth it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Would you say a majority of, because you brought up a good point, when you are talking to these people, you are kind of like the person who's, we'll use a terrible analogy, breaking the news to them, how the new process is going? I'm
not breaking the news. I'm educating. So typically when I have the conversations about the NAR, I do it during my initial consult with them if I can. If it's somebody I've already been working with, I'll set up a different time to cover solely that and go over the changes with them. It's not so much breaking news. It's just a change, and it's something that we're going to have to learn to grow into.
Do you find that you're the source of them hearing about it for the first time, or they've kind of heard about it? Or is it like it's always almost 80% it's new?
It's 50-50.
Okay.
So some people they haven't heard of this whatsoever. Others, they've been keeping up on the news a little bit just because real estate's of interest to them. They're in that climate right now. It really just depends on where they are in their home buying journey. So people that are a couple years out probably don't know too much about it. But people that are more actively looking are a little bit more educated on the situation.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because we're in the world, I just almost never considered that people just wouldn't have been aware of it. But yeah, I mean, like being the person to tell them. Like,
Well,
hey,
just on that simple fact, and I always say this, I mean, the consumer's more educated than they ever have been. And if you think about cookies and retargeting and the search, when you're searching real estate, then you start searching real estate rates, then they're going to get cookied to all of these different articles that are happening within real estate. So that's why I'm always talking about to all of our agents, we have to be more educated than the consumer, because no matter what, they're going to get remarketed to, whether it's articles they want to see or you want to see. It's just it's a fact of what's happening in the world. We all know if you talk about going to see a movie, like next thing you know, you're going to get that movie that's
right
popping up in your Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Kind of shifting gears a little bit. So recent trip to Japan.
Yes.
How was that? Tell us a little bit about that.
It was good. It was actually one of my bucket list items.
Okay.
I travel quite a bit. I've done Asia the year before I went to Thailand in
Nice.
2023, but I finally hit Japan. That was my number one spot to go to since I was like 7. So it was a really big milestone that I hit. And I got to go with a couple of friends. One of my friends is graduating law school, so we went to go celebrate her doing that.
Nice. So what was
Yeah.
that? What was the highlight of?
The highlight of it, Osaka was
Okay.
definitely the best. And just the culture and the experience of diversifying what you already know and expanding your knowledge. Because I think every country you go to offers a different insight into how people react and why they do.
It's perspective on so many things.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I love traveling as well, and I really, for everybody out there, it's my main goal. It's like, all right, work hard, travel, set those trips up, because it's just, for perspective wise, for just life wise, it's just so amazing. So Japan's on my bucket list too.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Hi.
you just spoke about her selling 23 houses already this year, but still, it doesn't sound like you have to really sacrifice having a personal life in order to do so.
It's
Yeah.
balance for sure.
Yeah.
Planning and balance.
Yeah, I just think a lot of people think that in order to like have the level of success that some of our agents do, you need to sacrifice. But I mean, you literally just went to the other side of the planet and like still are just flying.
And I think a lot of times, no matter what, it's, Todd, to your point, there's sacrifice no matter what. Like if you want to, whether it's exercise or do anything, like that's a sacrifice. You're gonna have to wake up early. You're gonna have to create more hours in the day. If you're gonna go to Japan, or when I went to, we just talked about Italy. Yeah, sure. That first 2 weeks leading up to it, I'm probably compressing in a full month of work and doing things so it doesn't fall through the cracks. Not only
Right.
that, having to, the 6-hour time difference for us, which I had looked up Japan. I was
That's
like,
brutal.
it's
12 hours.
it's a brutal, it's a tough, and it's like, hey, but the sacrifice is I might have to stay up a little bit later. I might
Right.
have to get up a little bit earlier in a beautiful place where, might want to sleep in a little bit. And I'm not saying you can't sleep in, but there's, there's probably a certain level of sacrifice when you do those travels, but
Right.
it's a cool job to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, as long as you plan ahead, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, the week after I executed 4 contracts, I mean, you can make it work.
Oh.
I mean, they always say it's not vacation unless you execute something. So
Right?
that's pretty funny.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So what's next on the bucket list of travel?
Ooh, I'm still kind of debating. I'm thinking like Australia, New Zealand.
New Zealand, I heard.
Yeah.
So I was just with one of my friends. I think he's been to like 52 different countries, and like he's like New Zealand all the way to the top
Yeah.
of
Oh,
the
yeah.
list. And
That's where they shot Lord of the Rings.
yeah,
Beautiful.
ton of good golfing over there too. Like,
Really?
there's, like probably, I don't know, misquote me on this, but
Yeah.
probably like 5 of the top 50 golf courses in the world
Really?
in New Zealand.
I know the
Yeah.
landscape is like wild, right? Like it's just like Hawaii, right? It's just like it's very mountainous. It's like
Mhm.
beautiful vistas. So that, I mean, does yield that. But
So what kind of
Dude.
hobbies do you do other than traveling?
Traveling's my main one.
Okay.
I do have a little puppy dog that I am obsessed with.
All right.
So I hang out with her a
What
lot.
kind of puppy?
A miniature schnauzer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
What's her name?
nice.
Tally, after
Tally.
Tallahassee.
All right.
Tally.
Tally.
Love that.
She's
So
cute.
did you go to Florida State?
I did.
Okay.
That tracks.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That tracks.
What's that supposed to mean, Todd?
Well, that she named her dog after Tallahassee. I like
I
just
thought you were
think
gonna
that you
make fun
woke
of
up.
I'm
their
just
slow
really
start in
passionate about our
football.
capital.
No, I was gonna say, how are you feeling about? Are you a football person? Are you not?
I don't want to talk about it.
There. Okay, so a football person.
Yeah, I just, well,
But no, I just more so meant that like naming it. Like I just woke up one day and she's like, I'm gonna name my dog Tallahassee. But like, no, that makes sense that she
I just like
product
putting
of
Todd in
FSU.
like weird
Yeah,
spots on this.
No doubt. So what are you kind of looking forward to as like we look towards the end of the year? What's your actual goal of like? I mean, we're at 23 close. What's your goal of like units sold?
Yeah. So when I first started this year, my goal was 20. Yeah, with 10 million in volume. Now my new goal is 35, 30, about there.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I mean, I think we're on pace. We have
You're on
plenty,
pace. Yeah, you have
we have
3
a whole-
pending.
Yeah, and a whole quarter left.
Yeah,
think,
there's a lot of, there's what, almost 100 days.
Yeah, left in the year. Yeah, so I mean, you keep working like you normally work, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And there's no trips in Japan between now and then.
But I mean, thinking about, I mean, we are going into Q4 but that I think gives you a good time to reflect on this year. And so setting up for next year, I mean, because, I pretty much, I think 30 to 35, I think you'll hit 35. I think you can do that. But what about next year? So what do you put on, like, coming off a big year like this, hit the
Yeah.
goal, crush the goal?
Man, that's a good question. It's
mean, this is the crystal ball.
yeah. Let's see here. What
So-
is it telling me? That's a tough one. You put me on the spot there. I think maybe realistically my answer is going to be I'm going to help as many people as I can.
Okay,
But my goal is going to be I think 40, 45.
perfect.
Just increase a little bit year by year.
Look, I know the world teaches us that you have to double, you have to do all of these things. I mean, to go from a goal of 20 and know that this year in 2024 and then put a goal of 40 on there, that is double of what you thought you could do. And so I think setting a goal like 40 as a benchmark, and if you blow through it to 50, then awesome. I think you definitely can do that. I think it's all realistic.
I think it's also
to 35 again. Like,
and I think
it's a tough market
too. It's not right. It's not the 2021 market where like, oh, I thought I was going to sell 20 houses and I sold 60 because the buyers just came from everywhere. I mean, constantly we've heard all over the place that like the market's doing this, it's trending down, it should be harder, it should be harder. And here you are literally planning about how you are going to exceed. You've already exceeded the goal you set for yourself and then how you're going to double it in the following year. I think it's just like already just shows that you are a different type of person when it comes to like looking at this. You play the hero, not really the victim. And I think that's like just a really cool trait to have. Yeah.
So what is what's your largest house you've ever, like, what's your biggest transaction? What's your smallest transaction?
Ooh, fun one. So I haven't really dealt with too many like big potatoes, I guess. My biggest one has been 850.
All right. That's good.
And my smallest one has been 135.
Nice.
Okay.
Sweet.
So not going to get the customer first award where I think somebody was 70 something thousand was like the lowest one that we
I think it was
did.
lower than that.
Lower than that? I
Yeah,
mean,
it was like 54 last year, I think.
Man, yeah, it was, I couldn't believe the number when you said it and it was just small.
For those
but
of
I'm
you out there that don't know, so every year we do an award ceremony of our top 10 that made the top 10 for sales each month, but we also do an award for the customer first award, which is the lowest sale of the year, meaning that we kind of like we were talking about earlier in the podcast of just helping anybody and everybody. So
yeah.
it's always a cool award to give out.
Yeah, it's always because again, it's you're celebrating the fact that you, no matter what the price point was, your goal was to help a customer, and I think that's just like in and of itself. Sometimes it's the luck of the draw on like the highest sale, but that is not really the luck of the draw. That is like I'm still going to help this person no matter what they're buying. I'm going to help. And I just think it's cool, which is really cool. But
what's on your bucket list? What's on the highest of Todd Giuliano's bucket list?
Bucket list? I don't know. That's like a great heavy question because I play so many different roles, like just in my life. Like there's just, I don't know, like I like entertaining people. So like a bucket list would be to just like be able to
be on a podcast and just entertain the whole world.
Well, just be able to entertain.
He's doing it.
Yeah, just to be able to entertain like a large amount of people. I think people do come to me for like comedic relief sometimes in their stressful day, especially here. So I do find tremendous joy in that. But like at the same time, like we build stuff all the time. So like my goal would be to try and scale or, help as many people when it comes to like solving a problem. Right. So like we created software for our agents here. Like I would love for there to be as many users as that as possible, which means we did solve a problem, right?
Yeah.
Like we actually did solve a problem. It wasn't just a problem. We know there's a problem, but that other people. So I don't have like I want to go here. I want to do that. It's not like me. I too like to help people. And it's a matter of like, how can I feel like I made like a big impact? That's like a bucket list thing for me, whether it be comic relief or helping in a business sense.
Love it. Great program, by the way.
Yeah.
Your show was awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Avid listener. Great program. Avid listener.
What, so we talked about what works and what got you to your success. Like, what was your biggest struggle? Because we all have, I think for everyone out there that is struggling, we all struggle. Mm-hmm. I think it's okay to talk about that too. Like, what would you say?
Yeah. So I think it was really finding my why.
Okay.
Because that's such a big component of your business. For like the first couple of months, like when I started, I didn't really have a why. But as soon as I found one, it actually happened March of 2023 was exactly when I found my why. And since then, like since I established why I'm doing this, what it's going to be going towards in my personal life, my business just grew.
Do you think a lot of people get into this business for the wrong reasons or not understanding that?
100%, yes.
Like, don't take it, like, in my opinion, I think when I look at, people that have gotten into this business, they don't look at it as a career for some like crazy reason. And it's like such a, big opportunity in so many different ways to like truly build for the future. I definitely find that to be one of the largest struggles in the industry is just people not taking that step to understand the seriousness. And it sometimes is hard to find the why. And sometimes we kind of fall in these zones of in and out of different whys. And I think if you're getting into the business right now, or you're thinking about getting into the business, I think establishing, like Stephanie said in the beginning, helping people of what you really want to do, what really moves you as a person, and how are you going to align that with the company or, career that you want to do. And I know that's, when you're, whether you're young, middle-aged or old, sometimes that can be hard to think about or try to like really reflect on. But I think being honest with yourself and understanding like that drive and that mentality is going to ultimately help you be successful, and not just real estate, in any career. So
yeah, are you a big self-reflective person? Not self-deprecating, self-reflective. So you look at the things you've done, what worked, what didn't work.
I try to as best I can. I always try to take. I try not to ask myself that because I'm a little bit harsh on myself.
Self-deprecating. That's what I said.
Right.
Self-reflective.
Yeah. So I'm not as self-reflective as I would like to be. I'm a little harsh on myself. So I kind of have to look a little bit outwardly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll ask clients like, was there anything, or like after like something, if something occurs or a big milestone happened, is there anything I could have done to make this better of an experience for you? And then I'll take that feedback and kind of tweak it
right
a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty important too, because a lot of people just, they want the review and then they're like, I crushed it, let's move on, right?
Yeah.
Instead of like, what didn't I do well, so that I know that, like, because right, you're too close to it sometimes, you just don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's takes a really big person too.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, I mean, it happens to us all the time, like we're just, our noses are in it, that like sometimes we have to ask and just be like, hey, what do you hate about this? And don't be, don't go easy because I'm so close to it I can't see.
Mm-hmm.
So like just say it outright, then we'll get to a solution. I think is a big thing, in especially owning a business, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to ask like the other agents that you're working with too.
Right.
To see like, were you easy to get to work with?
Right.
I think that's as important as asking the past client or the clients that you're working with, because they're making this transaction as easy or as hard as it is.
As it is. And there's a chance that you see them again anyway too.
Have you ever asked that for that feedback and gotten some negative feedback?
No comment.
Yeah, but right. So again, you take it with a grain of salt, right? Like somebody might just be sour, but that's pretty funny. So you've gotten some
that's
stuff.
Good. I always wondered. You always ask. It's funny. You always ask that question and you get the answer. You're like, I can't believe they gave me that answer. Like,
yeah.
Said, I'll write it down. Fine.
Who has had would you say the most impact on your real estate career thus far?
Gosh, there's been so many.
And leave
or
me
multiple.
out of it. Don't. Yeah.
First on the list.
No, leave me out of it. Let's go give somebody else a crack.
And if there's multiple people, by all means. But like something that I think it's important, because I've always believed in coaches and mentors and people that have helped me in my direction, and I give so much credit to, and I think that's important.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people that I could go on and on. The mentors here, you and Lindsay, and then I have my coach with Tom Ferry, David Werfel.
Yeah.
We meet every other week.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes sure I'm on track. I'm doing what I need to be doing, which I mean, you guys do too, obviously. So it's just double eyes on me.
Got the double accountability.
And of course, like even agents at our office, like our like camaraderie, I guess you would call it, and the energy we have is something that I look forward to going to work every day, and it makes me want to be a better agent for the people around me. Just so we can keep doing what we're doing together and being awesome together.
Do you feel like that pushes you to, I know, be a better agent, obviously, but now, I mean, we all see the leaderboards. I mean, that obviously puts you up there with, some of the highest closed in the Jacksonville office, like setting that. do you feel pressure of having those eyes on you as like the role model of setting that bar to be the best real estate agent?
Not really. It could be anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everybody is amazing. They all work hard, and it's just who you have in your system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who you're nurturing and how you're doing it. I think my name could be replaced with any of the agents in Jacksonville just as easily because
We have
everybody's amazing.
so many great agents, and
Yeah.
we're very lucky to have such a great nucleus of people. And I know you just bring up the mentors. So like, I always I'm trying to peel back the layers and give people, you know, a little bit of insight. You know, obviously I always say, I mean, there's no secrets. We're just, you know, prospecting isn't a DJ&Lindsey thing. That has been a thing in sales since the history of forever.
Right, no doubt.
What about the mentors, and you can say names or specifically like how that helps, you know, kind of helps you.
Yeah. Well, when I first started, I didn't know how to write a contract.
Okay.
I didn't know how to print an MLS sheet. You know, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no knowledge on what to do. Brittany and Brett walked me through it step by step, took me by the hand. As I've grown as an agent, it's obviously expanded. I now know how to print an MLS sheet, thankfully. So now it's more having in-depth conversations and actual conversations and getting their opinions on like, so this is what's happening in this deal. How would you do this if you were me, knowing the circumstances? It's getting their advice, their opinion, because they've been doing this so much longer than I have. And you can't really go anywhere else to find that too much. And they're there, they're available for you. That's something that's really important. And getting a second opinion.
Yeah.
You know,
perspective. Yeah, it goes back. And I always, you know, I say that word so much, and I just think it resonates so much with everything we do. I think in you know, in sales, because you may say something, I would be like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. I may not completely agree with it or disagree, or our sellers might not fully agree or disagree, but it's again giving them the perspective of they need of why they should buy this home, why now is the right time, why right now might not be the best time. I think just kind of educating everybody to where they need to be and meeting them where they need to be.
Right. And I think also understanding objectively, right? You could be talking to DJ, his situation, saying, now is the best time for you to buy. And then immediately turn around and talk to somebody and based on their situation saying, now is not a great time for you to buy. Because again, it's situational. And you have to understand that, and being able to talk to as many mentors, people, and ears, you know, in the industry as you can to be able to confidently deliver that message. I mean, obviously the goal would be it's always a great time to buy or sell. And it always is based on your situation. And I think understanding that versus just being a pushy salesman also separates a lot of people. I think that's like a pretty powerful thing to recognize and understand, which you do very well.
And then kind of, so if, you know, we talked about goals in the 40 houses, if you had to put one thing on your business that you do want to, that you feel like you want to get really, really strong on, like what would that be? Obviously you're a great communicator, you know, you're working on the emotional intelligence side of it. Like what kind of part of the business, whether it be, you know, more listings, more buyers, or, you know, and is there any part of the business that you're really just trying to hone in on your next year?
Yeah. So client appreciation,
okay,
is something that I'm starting to do. I'm trying to integrate that a little bit more into my personal business. And then I mean, you can always get better on the phones. You know, role playing, stuff like that. Always better.
And we're all having live in this new world and kind of go.
Yeah.
So I know we started it with a snack. So I guess, Todd, I'm going to start with you on this. Well, we're going to end with food. I guess there's going to be a foodie episode. If you had to eat one cuisine only for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Like it's just one dish, or like
no, like you can
like
go,
you
you can go Italian, you can go Mexican, you can go.
Right. I mean, I think I'd be crazy to not say Italian. Like being an Italian from New Jersey.
I think, you know, that's not just for mom out there.
I'm just like, I think, you know, we like draw, like the Italians obviously have like a ton of staples, but they also draw so much from other cultures. You know, the Roman Empire was pretty big thing. So like we were able to kind of like annex a lot of spices and flavors, and they kind of all fold into Italian and offshoots. So if I had to go, I'd probably stick Italian.
All right.
I love it. I gotta say like Asian, like Asian food.
Asian
Like
food?
Eastern Asian.
Yeah.
Like like a sushi noodles.
Yeah, all
Love
the good
that.
stuff.
What? Let me get before you answer.
Yeah.
Let me get your opinion on pho.
I like pho.
Pho.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like it's soup.
It's soup.
Like it's just soup.
Soup
but
and
like
noodles.
I don't like it was just marketing that like we just like recently learned about it. Like it just became like a thing.
I think it became more popularized.
Yeah. Because my brother came all back from Arizona. My brother lived in Scottsdale and came all hot to trot. He's like, "Oh, you gotta have pho." And I'm like, "What's the rest of the word? You're kind of just stopping saying pho." He's like, "No, it's great." And my brother, big soup noodle guy too. I was just like, it's just soup. And I like thought I always felt stupid because I was like, is this just soup? And everyone's like, no, it's pho. And I always felt, but
The
so
difference,
somebody who, so somebody who just like you latched on to Asian food. I'm like,
What's the difference between pho and ramen?
The noodle type.
well, but I'm like, I've seen
And the
pho
raw.
that has noodles in it. So I'm like, that's where I'm like, I feel
think it's
stupid.
Vermilion rice noodles, and ramen is like the wavy noodles.
Mm.
Yeah. And what you put in pho is different than ramen. So they'll have like tripe, which is like the intestines of
Yes.
an animal.
That's
Meatballs.
You know, it's probably, David Chang and Momofuku kind of blowing up in the food scene and doing all that probably made it really popular again, like trendy.
Yeah. But I didn't know if it was like pho was a new thing or like pho's been around forever. We've only just like recently the space has just latched onto it and they're just.
I think it's
it.
better. I think it's like a traditional Vietnamese food.
Cool. Got it. Yeah. I just, like I said, I always felt stupid not understanding it, but sorry. Where you at?
Yeah, like you said, it's hard not to go with Italian. I mean, I've grown up just with such great Italian food. It's so good.
Yeah.
Close second and probably just right there would be Mexican food. I think I eat tacos 4 days a week. And whether it's taco salad, a couple tacos, got to get a burrito. So I probably find myself eating the most Mexican food on a weekly basis.
Right.
So.
Yeah, because some Italian foods are traditionally like heavier foods. So Mexican, you kind of can get away with, a couple of tacos and jump it in the ocean with a board or whatever and not feeling like you're going to sink to the bottom. Yeah. But like, just to parallel this, like even last night, I was just for no reason at all was watching like a 14-minute long video of some dude making like hand rolled spaghetti. He was making Bellinzone and like some other stuff too. But I was just like, there's like an artistry to it and like peaceful. And I'm like, I would eat that. I'm so full. I would eat that right now. So that's why I've always growing up.
Have you ever made homemade pasta before?
Of course, yeah.
Fun.
My grandparents, like that was like a big thing that they loved to do. Mostly my grandfather. I lost him in 2001, so I was only in however old we were in 5th grade. But I just remember like making pasta as like a child. Of course, throwing it at my brother, but mostly, making it. But yeah, big staple in our family.
Speaking of brother, Uncle Todd now.
Yeah,
huh?
I'm Uncle Todd.
Yeah,
I'm Uncle Todd.
Since when? Is that new?
The end of August.
Oh,
August
so it's
20.
not
Don't quote me on it because I think it's the 27th.
Yeah.
But because she went into the
Good
hospital, then she was there for a little bit, and then they didn't give birth to like the next day or whatever. So like it all.
Well, he's always been like fun Uncle Todd for.
I've always
the
been fun Uncle Todd for here.
I
for
but
thought
the
it was
organization. Now he's like a real uncle.
Officially,
like, that's
Uncle.
really,
Yeah, officially am Uncle Todd. Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
So,
Stoked for
yeah.
you.
Bucket
Congratulations.
list, be an uncle.
But
Fun uncle.
but seriously, congratulations on all your success. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your advice to all the agents out there.
Big time.
Thanks for being a part of this, organization and all your contribution. We're definitely thankful to have you a part of it and really excited to see you not only sell 40 houses, but just grow in this company and exceed your goals. And hopefully we can help guide you to that way. And, Todd.
I'm gonna rip it. So this podcast is sponsored by Audible. Audible is a great way for you to listen to books because you're driving to showings and you can't read. It's very unsafe. So you can get a referral link at tryaudible.com or in the description below. Stephanie, thank you. Stay badass.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome.
We're out.
We're out.
Is this actually on Audible?
I mean, if you want to listen to it on Audible.
Crazy.
Yeah.